Hey guys, my name is Anton, and today I'm going to be showing you what I've been working on for the past, yikes, like a month or something like that. Anyway, I haven't made videos in a while because have lost a little bit of motivation. I think I mentioned that the last time I had a status update, and been busy playing Zelda, which I finished. So can't be pouring time into that anymore. But um yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to do. And I'm not really sure how to navigate my musical journey at this point because since I'm not releasing stuff anymore, um, I don't really know what to do besides just make stuff and just keep honing in my craft and stuff. So um, I figured, well, it's been more than a month now since the last status update, so I figured I would just mention and show you guys like what I've been working on and actually just walk through how I make my projects, or I mean really just show you the project file and like explain some things, and then the mixing and then the mastering part. Mixing I'm a little more confident of than the mastering. So if my mastering process looks like crap, it's probably because it actually is. But for anyone starting out and wanting somewhere to look to or look not to, I guess that didn't quite make sense. Um, yeah, it's always good to see what other people are doing and see what you think works and what you think probably doesn't. I mean, there's no technical right or wrong. So I hope this is educational for you all, and let's get to it. So let's see. Okay, so there was this remix contest on Skio Music. I got the stems. I did not plan to finish it on time. In fact, I started after the submission date, so whatever. But I love the lyrics so much, and the vocalist is great. Reminds me a little bit of Justin Bieber for some reason. And my only gripe with this vocalist is that they don't sing on time. Like, whatever. It was a pain to work with the vocals because I actually had to chop stuff up and like move them around a bit. I don't use Melodyne because I don't have it. But if I did have Melodyne, I would have done stuff. I know you can do this in Newtone and FL, but I was like, slicing up the audio and stuff was good enough. So whatever. So what I'm going to play for you here is the hook, pre-chorus, and like the first part of the drop. That's, a good enough idea of like what the vibe is and stuff. So this is the master. I do not know what it sounds like in stereo. The reason for that is because, as you notice, that I'm wearing my headphones strangely. So while I was mastering this last week, I turned up the gain too high on my interface, and I didn't realize this when I turned off some of the fruity balances in my mix, and the audio came in really loud. And my left ear has always been a problem since I went out clubbing so much in my 20s, and so I have like probably onset of tinnitus or something like that. So it started hurting, and I was like, I'm not sending any direct signals into this ear for like a week, maybe even 2. So it's been a week already, and it feels better, but I think I'm just gonna rely on hearing the right channel only. So some disclaimers. So one, I don't know what it sounds like in stereo. Maybe the leads are really thin. And there might be a lot of distortion in the high end because I really tried to push this master like loud. It's like 5.5 minus 5.5 LUFS, basically professional level, but I achieved that by using like 18 limiters. It's ridiculous. I will show you the chain. I believe I did it totally wrong, but I hit the LUFS level and I'm like, okay, cool. Now how do I get back that clarity? So without further ado, I'll play that. So, so yeah, there you have it. That's what it is. I definitely feel there's distortion. But I'll fix that somehow, or I'll just say I tried my best and I'll get to it the next time. So, how I made this. So let's go to this. So recently I decided to, not, so like starting in FL, I forget what it was. Was it 12? Might have been 12, maybe it was 20, I don't remember. But you could select the tracks and assign them to like the audio tracks or instrument tracks, and you'd have effectively what you have in other DAWs. So like one-to-one relationship between MIDI instruments and a track, or a track is tied to a single mixer track or whatever. And I liked it a lot. It's really helpful for organization and stuff. But the thing is, it takes a lot of time, and then there's some times where you have things like spread out over many tracks, and it's very sparse, and you have to do all this scrolling. I mean, there's pros and cons to each, but I just find that going through the motion of like this, right? Saying this track is for a reference track, it kills the flow of the creation process. I think one of the great things about FL is that you can put anything anywhere. So it's like, here's your canvas, here's your audio clips, your MIDI clips, whatever automation clips are your paints, go at it, right? And that's there's no restrictions as to like where you can place things. And that's great for flow. And flow is very important. Like you gotta strike when the iron is hot, right? So if you're feeling it, you don't want to be bogged down with like all the boilerplate kind of stuff, like the setup and whatever. Like you just want to put it down and just have it work, right? So that's what I decided to do with this. And it's not as dense as I could have made it, but I don't care enough. So you can see there's a gigantic mess here of clips and stuff. What I can do is, so I place things down, the effects, obviously the kick I have from bass modulators pack, the bass modulators pack on 78910.com. And a lot of these effects are from the Adrenalize producer pack as well from 78910. I'm not sponsored by them, but I happen to use a lot of their stuff in this one. And here are the Vox. So as I mentioned before, this singer is sort of out of time, so I had to chop this stuff up a little bit. But yeah, the basic progression here is, put down the MIDI. My chords are here. I love these chords very much. Let's see if I don't know if this will actually work or not. Yeah, like, so I could have gone, like, so my reference track is Orion and Accelerator is Ready For You, which is great euphoric track. And I know that their chord progression feels more euphoric-y, and mine is, I don't know, housey, I guess. I have house influences, so that's what I went with. But, you know, it is what it is. And the melody is here. I don't remember. I think, yeah, so I took their melody and I looked at it. I was like, okay, I can try making something. Like, what I thought was interesting about their melody was that, let me see if I can find it. Rough chords, drop chords, lead melody, piano melody. No, that's not it. I might not have that anymore. Nope, that's not it. No, I don't have that many MIDIs. Pre-chorus, drop, blah, blah, blah. Huh. I probably deleted it. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, but this is the melody, and, it's super cool. Whoops. There's probably a thing on this. Yeah, that's one of the problems with, like, these messy projects. Like, it's hard to find. I don't remember. One of these is something. Okay. Probably. Okay, well, I'll just do this. Should work. Right. So, one thing I thought was interesting from the Orion track was that their motif doesn't fit into 4 beat grid, so like it repeats itself on the 3. So I did something similar, and so I've got my little motif here, and then obviously the emotional highs of the second time here. Right. So I got that. Anyway, so that's what this is, and yeah, I don't know. Obviously I bounce all the MIDI stuff because I use Serum basically only, and it starts getting CPU intensive. So, maybe it's worth it to play the entire thing. I don't know. Well, anyway, so I lay down everything, and then I do a little bit of mixing. And by a little bit, I really mean a little bit. Like, not between tracks, but between instrument groups. So, for example, in the drop, right? I have leads. So yeah, okay. So, okay, how do I? Okay, so the way I do this is I group everything. For my mixing process, I do it on stems. This is what was taught in the Hyperbits masterclass, so I started doing it. And it makes sense because I get to save CPU dedicated for mixing in the mixing part. So that's what I do. So when I've decided that like I want to start prepping my stems for the mixing process, then I start thinking about what individual plugins and whatever are in what groups. So for example, I have a lead stem, and that is tracks are to this one. So of of course. Right. So that is composed of my first lead, the second lead, and the sub for the second. So this is a group, and what I do here is I mix within this group. So mainly consists of sidechaining, really. So okay, well, that's not sidechained because it's okay. Here we go. Right. So here I have. Just turn that one off. Oh, actually. So this is the second lead. Right. So you can see here that it's conflicting with the main lead in these areas. And I want the main lead to be like to keep its like center frequencies, like mid content in full. So I'm ducking the second lead with a peak controller here. And yeah, so I do this for within a group. So yeah, this one is probably on the main lead as well. Oh no. Yeah, so the sub. Well, anyway. Yeah, so I mix within groups, right? So I have this for even my chords. Yeah, I mean these probably. Yeah. So I do that for every group possible. And then I route them all to these sends or whatever. I mean, effectively these are routed to masters, so I route them all here anyway. But yeah, then I right click, I name it somewhere, and arm each of these for recording, and then I record all the sends out. Right. So before I get into the mixing part, I wanted to talk about my chords because this is something that I haven't done in a while. Actually, I've never really done. But there's a cool tutorial, but I forget who it's by. But some guy I've been talking with in the Hyperbits masterclass, like he referred me to this tutorial. But basically, like you take your melody, or you take your chords, and then you rhythm it to the melody, obviously, and then you make some variations that follows the melody a little bit. And you layer this onto your actual melody, and it just creates like a really nice vibe. So what it sounds like, how do I do this? So I also had a harmony, but I didn't like it, so I ended up not using harmony. Go figure. So I'll just show you in the individual sense. So the sub, second lead, main lead, and then chords 1. Yeah, I don't know, I like that a lot. Right, so all that. I also have some sidechain chords. I don't remember where these are going. Here? Atmosphere. So that's about it there. Obviously some things. What do I have here? Pluck verb. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that interesting to mention. I will say that I applied delay to the vocals. It's gonna be hard to show because, but anyway, like I'm starting to think it's very naive to have a delay plugin on a vocal just be on all the time. Like what you want to do is you want to strategically enable that delay on certain words or phrases so that it sounds nice and then the delay isn't interfering with the actual vocals, right? Like, I guess I can try this. There's nothing fucking working. Right? That versus, there's nothing fucking working. Why can't I get out of bed? I shouldn't be. Well, okay, that might not be so easy to demonstrate, but like it makes a difference whether the delay is like on the entire time or on for specific phrases, because it just sounds nicer when there's specific phrases that have the echoey thing going on. Having it on all the time is just like, okay, you're lazy and you didn't really put a lot of thought into it. So, one step further is actually taking the vocals and chopping them up and creating a separate track so that you can time the delay even more, because like some of these phrases don't fall on the beat, and like if you want them to repeat like every 4 beats or whatever, you want them to trigger the delay on the beat instead of wherever they actually do. Anyway, so that's that. I'll quickly now show you stem mixing. So after I've done all that, when it loads. Oh god. Okay, so this is the stem mixing. And I don't do a whole lot of automation. Mostly it's just like controlling the levels of everything. Okay, there's some balance because I thought it was panning, because I thought it was a good idea. But this is where the heavy duty stuff happens. So on each of the stems, I have the full mixing chain on. So for every stem, I have, you know, some sort of saturation, maybe some OTT, and some subtractive EQ to cut out frequencies that are too harsh. A peak controller just to set up side chaining. So where before I was doing the side chaining within stem groups, now I'm doing side chaining across the stem groups. So this is the actual mixing part that most people know about. And then obviously some compression. I think this time I decided to serial 2 compressors, because you know you don't want one compressor doing all of the work, and you want them to be in series, so that you know they do a tiny bit of work and there's not a lot of distortion created. And then you know there's additive, but actually I use this final EQ for the actual side chaining stuff. So I don't side chain entirely. I side chain to like just frequencies. Maybe that's a problem, maybe not. And always have a meter because you don't want the signal going too hot into any of your plugins. So I try to make sure I have like 6 dBs of headroom. Right. I route all this stuff to so all the drums are routed to this treble thing, which is not the best name thing, but whatever. All the non-drums and non-kick are routed to this, and the drums, I think, are sidechaining the everything else a little bit, and the hardstyle kick is sidechaining all of this, depending on side and mid information. So I have that set up here. So I have my kick, and it's sidechained to these empty, well, these mixer tracks that don't go to master, but they extract the side information or the mid information, and they serve as like how I know where the conflicts are in the side or mid channels, right? So yeah, I don't think there's a lot to say. I mean, this is just general mixing, but you know. Oh, and then I send to reverbs, obviously. So there's that. So this is what it sounds like without all the without the kick. Yeah, I don't know what this is for. So this is ducking. Oh, because of the vocals, right? But other things are ducking for other reasons. Like this is probably for the leads. Right. Yeah, so there's all that. And then obviously the kick sounds like this. Right, so you can see the side chaining going on here. And when I disable side chain, this is what it sounds like altogether. And with it, right. So you can tell that the leads are pushed back a teeny bit. And I even dropped this a little bit because what I was aiming for here was a mix where the kick is very forward. I think my reference track, nah, I didn't really use the reference track here. Not gonna lie. But I was thinking of the tweakers in Code Black. They shake a shimmy. That one has the kick quite forward, and I think most of their mixes tend to be like that. So that's what I went with. Here's where it gets complicated. So for my mastering, I also just recorded each of these individually, individually going from the mix. So like I would arm this one and mute all the others. I wouldn't mute the hardstyle kick because that's necessary for the side chaining. So I would do something like this, right? Oh, the leads don't go here because I don't want the drums to duck the leads, right? Right. I would unroute this from master so that leads would go through the side chaining from the hardstyle kick, but they would also I would get that. So I'm creating more stems from the mixing process, and I would use the stems in the mastering process. So it's a long and painful process because this has to be one by one because they're all routed into one bus. What can you do? And then finally, the mastering part, which is here, where when it loads, and that happens because I have Oxford Inflator on it. Right. So, no, are you loading for me? Okay, cool. Okay, right. Why is this? Oh, okay, I know why. Okay, right. So again, same deal. I have all the stems from the mixing process, but just bounced out with the mix plugins in place. And I know they say not to do any mixing here, but I needed some volume control, and the limiting compression that I applied made these tails a little more loud than I wanted them to be. So there's that. And then this is to control some clicking that I didn't like. Anyway, one thing is I reproduced most of the drum chain here because sometimes I left it open that maybe I want to tweak the drums a little bit more. So that's why I bounced them out without the drum bus in the audio. I ended up not doing much to them anyway, so whatever. But the idea here was all the stuff goes into this one bus, which contains everything but the hardstyle kick. And here, these are things I did after the fact. So when I started doing my mastering chain, I realized that all the stuff was just too loud. So I just started adding balances to my, salt to taste, basically. Initially, when I was mastering, I had both the kick and everything else routed to the same chain. So like they would go through all this stuff and all this stuff. And I found in the end that my kick lost a lot of the sub and it just didn't sound the same. And I didn't like that. So it reminds me of this Headhunters article where he said that you basically want to limit everything else but the kick and then add them together. And then, that's how you preserve the characteristic of your hardstyle kick throughout the mastering process. It's very subtle. Like, all the mastering is basically done on everything else but the kick. The kick you leave alone. And I decided to do that this time. So, I have this routed to here. So, let me take a swig of water. So, minus 6 dBs per headroom, Oxford inflator, to taste, basically. Tape smash, because I happen to like this one. It just made things seem louder. Very subtle, like we're not even talking 2 dBs of reduction here in the subtractive EQ, cut out the harsh frequencies. Some compression, gain staging, more compression, and more gain staging, and compression again, and gain staging. Okay, great. Then dynamics, so multi-band compressor, but on different bands. And remember, the hardstyle kick is not going through this, so none of this affects the hardstyle kick. Looking for 1 or 2 dBs of reduction in each band. Then I matched my EQ to Shake a Shimmy. That was my reference master. Turns out I'm fairly close. I mean, it looks quite the same, but yeah, I don't know. It seemed like I was missing a lot of the highs, which I don't agree with, but I had that mount turned down to 20, so whatever. But yeah, it looks pretty much the same, surprisingly. Imager, again, well, not again, but to, reduce stereo width in the mids, but increase them in the highs. So, some width. A teeny bit of sausage fattener. So I set this to 1%, and I'm against the manual's instructions. I left the gain at 0 because I liked it that way. But I set the color to 50. And the reason for this is because at the end of this chain, I realized that my leads had way too much high and they just sounded thin. And I wanted to boost the mids a little bit because that's where human hearing perceive things the loudest. So that's what I did. And then I have the crazy limiting chain that I have. So I basically limited things so that I have like 1 to 1.5 dBs of gain reduction, and I just keep doing this until I got the result that I wanted, which was something loud and with a higher LUFS value. So my presets the presets I used were the EDM aggressive and tight, and the wide and open at the very end. because I like it wider. This goes into the all mastering chain, which I'll talk about later. But first, I also did limit the kick a little bit. Well, quite a lot. There's like 10 of these on there. But loud and general purpose limiting, so not much color being added. Really just bringing down peaks, raising everything up. That was the purpose of this, because the kick is the main thing here. I wanted the most loudness out of it possible. So these two chains go in, and I have one last sausage fattener, increase the fatness, which I liked it this way. 10% for colors to add more oomph to the bass. Might even be sub bass. It's a little hard to tell. Gain staging. And then again, lots of limiters. I think I probably have 20 limiters in this entire thing. But I went with the hard rock and metal punchy aggressive. I liked how it sounded. It made the kick feel more full. Wide and open, obviously. And a combination of those two. And makeup gain. 6 dBs of makeup gain. So all this goes into this, and that's about it. And to show you what the lux value I was achieving here, I don't know how I was getting -4 here. I think it's because it's the low quality settings when I'm playing it back in real time, but here the actual bounce is like 5.5 lufs. And I'm a little bit over 0 dBs true peak, but whatever. So yeah, I'm happy with this, and that's what I have. That's basically the chain that I have. If you guys have any specific questions about this chain and you want to ask about it, I'm more than happy to come back to this and explain why I did it that way, or who told me to do it this way. So that'll be it, really. Let me know how the master sounded, because I don't know what it sounds like. And yeah, I don't think doing this is the right approach. Maybe it's supposed to be with compressors, like serial compression is the thing. I don't know about serial limiting. But as you can see, even with nothing, I'm not even playing anything back, but my CPU is already at 86% usage here. Just because there's 20 Pro L2s in this project file. It's nuts. So yeah. Yeah. Hope this helped. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.